And that's how you build the PC the classic way. But did you notice something was missing? That's right, I didn't install a CPU. And that's because this motherboard throws the rulebook out the window. Meet this little mini beast from Minisforum. The CPU is soldered on, but not some low-end chip. This is a 16-core, 32-thread AMD Ryzen 9 7945HX with clock speeds up to 5.4 GHz and a TDP unlock of up to 100 watts. If you're building a brand new PC today, a mobile CPU probably wouldn't even cross your mind. It sounds crazy, but Minisforum has done it again. Is this a mad experiment or pure genius? I'm about to find out by putting this little board through its paces, and yes, I'm installing Linux too. Let's start with some Linux benchmarks with my favorite tool, Phoronix Test Suite. And so without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so we're here in the computer and I'm going to show you how to install the Phoronix Test Suite. This is a Rocky Linux 9 machine. The Phoronix Test Suite works with any Linux distributions. So if you're running Ubuntu or Red Hat or any other distribution, this would also work. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you how to run a quick Blender benchmark just so that you get to know how to use the tool. But I'm also going to show you the results between the Minisforum CPU and my desktop CPU, which is a Ryzen 9 3950X. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to install the development tools. We're going to do DNF group install and we're going to do development tools. We can do yes. So this is going to go ahead and install all of the development tools. Some of these tools and compilers are needed by the Phoronix Test Suite. So just install, wait for it to install, and that's it. Okay, so now that everything is installed, we can clear our terminal. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to download the Phoronix Test Suite. So we're just going to go to the GitHub page. The links are going to be in the description below. You only need to go to the releases page and then just grab the latest version. We're going to use the tarball version of the tool. This is just easy and it's available for any Linux distribution. So I usually just do copy link address. We'll go back to our terminal. So I'll just minimize that. And we're going to do wget and paste our link. So basically this is going to download that tar file. It's a really cool trick to download directly to your Linux machine. And now we're going to extract this using tar. So we're going to use tar and we're going to say X to extract, V for verbose, F for file, and Z for compressed file. And we're just going to give it our Phoronix test tarball here. So after that, we're just going to hit enter. And as you can see, everything is extracted into this folder now here. We're going to go inside, list the files. And as you can see here, we have the Phoronix Test Suite. This is the binary that we want to execute. So we're just going to execute really quick. And as you can see here, it's telling me that there are some dependencies that need to be installed. In this case, because I'm using Rocky Linux 9, it is just DNF install. But if you're using any other distribution like Ubuntu or Arc or anything like that, it's going to give you the equivalent command to install these dependencies. I'm just going to install the dependencies. Say yes to that. Perfect. Clear our terminal. And then now we can launch that binary again. As you can see, it just updated a few of the tests here to have the latest version. And it just tells you what are the commands that you can use with this. This is a very extensive tool set of tests. I really love it. And you're going to see more of this in this channel, definitely. Okay, so for the purposes of this video, we're going to launch a very simple Blender test. And we're going to use the interactive mode of this tool. So to use the interactive mode, just launch the binary again and then just type interactive. Press enter. And as you can see, first it also gives you some details about your system. So it gives you the CPU, the motherboard, the RAM, the version of the operating system. In this case is Linux 9.5. So as you can see here now, we have a menu and basically we're going to select what we need. In this case, we want number 1 because we want to run a test or a benchmark. So we're going to press 1 and this is going to take a little bit, maybe a few minutes, maybe like 1 to 5 minutes, depending on your internet connection, because this is loading all of the tools available to the test. Just wait for it to load. And then once it's loaded, we're going to choose our Blender benchmark test. Now everything is loaded. And as you can see, there's 437 different tests that you can use to test and benchmark your system. Now we're going to go all the way up here. If you want to play around with any of the other tests here, it gives you a little bit of the description of what is going to test. So this one is going to mainly test your CPU. This one might test your entire system. There's some graphics test. Also, some of them might require you to have a desktop environment for them to work. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to launch a very simple Blender test. Blender is right here, number 32. We're just going to type 32 and press enter. Another cool thing about this test suite is that if there's something that is missing, like a dependency or something like that, it's going to automatically download it for you to be able to launch the test. In this case, it's downloading Blender, but it's also downloading all the Blender files that are required to be able to run the benchmark. So you don't have to worry too much about dependencies. It's going to do it all for you. Okay, once everything is downloaded and ready to go, it's going to ask you if you want to save the results. In this case, we're not going to save the results, but if you want to save the results, it's going to ask you for a file name, and it's just going to save the results to that file name. Okay, so we press no, and as easy as that, you're now benchmarking your CPU. So to confirm that the CPU is being benchmarked, I'm just going to connect again to that same machine, and we're going to install HTOP. Okay, HTOP, perfect. And as you can see, the CPU is pegged to 100%. So right now, the Phoronix Test Suite is running the Blender benchmark, and specifically the BMW 25 benchmark. And as you can see, it's running on CPU only. This is because there's no GPU right now in this machine, and so it's just using the CPU. But if you had a GPU, you would also have the option to choose if you want to run this test on the GPU or on the CPU. I'm not going to bore you here. We don't have to watch the entire benchmarks because I already did them before. So now it's time for some graphs. First up, the Blender benchmark, which tests rendering across different scenes. The 7945HX consistently outshines the 3950X in every test, especially when running on Linux, where it gets a noticeable performance boost. Whether it's complex scenes or simple ones, the 7945HX delivers faster render times, making it an awesome choice for creators working on 3D projects or animations. Moving to Cinebench Multicore, which measures the performance in heavy multitasking and parallel workloads. The 7945HX puts a solid fight. It beats the 3950X by a decent margin, showing its strengths for tasks like video editing or running multiple processes at once. However, the M1 Ultra takes the lead here, proving it's still a multi-core monster. But the 7945HX isn't far behind and holds its own against the competition. Finally, Cinebench Single Core, where we test the performance for tasks like gaming or apps that rely on a single thread. The 7945HX really shines. It takes the top spot, just edging out the M1 Ultra and leaving the 3950X trailing further behind. This makes the 7945HX a fantastic option for gamers or anyone needing a snappy single-threaded performance. And another cool thing about the Phoronix Test Suite is that if you register an account with openbenchmarking.org, you can actually automatically upload your results from your test bench or your test machine directly into their website. And then here on their website, they also have a really cool comparison tool where you can have two different tests and just pair them back to back, and it will automatically generate the graphs for you. This is really cool. I'm going to leave this link in the description below. You can actually visit it and see how well it performed between the Minisforum and my desktop CPU. Just as a quick recap here, the Minisforum CPU was beating my desktop CPU by quite a lot. On the barbershop, the Minisforum was 51% faster. On the classroom, it was 49% faster. On the Pavilion Barcelona, it was 44.2 faster. So across the board, the Minisforum is beating my desktop CPU. How crazy is that? In using only 100 watts of power and in such a small compact package. That's so cool. And you can also see here more of the graphs specifically. If you want to dig deeper on all of the details, you can check it out on the link. Like for example, CPU power consumption, how many watts it's consuming, also the CPU temperature. It's performing very well, but it's also a little bit toasty. It's running at an 81.4 degrees Celsius, for example. And now for the fun part, gaming benchmarks. I tested the motherboard with my RTX 3080 on a 1080p resolution. So let's check the results. So why would you choose this board for your next build? Well, the Minisforum board is a great choice because it offers excellent performance for just $499. It can handle almost any task you throw at it. This entire package, the board, the heatsink, and the CPU, cost $300 less than a gaming CPU alone, making this a fantastic value. Huge thanks to Minisforum for sending over this awesome motherboard and for making this video happen. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Do all of the YouTube magic down there, and I'll see you on the next one.